It seems like there's almost like an inherent contradiction in when people come, not only when people first come to non-dual teachings, but also even someone like me who's been studying this for quite a long time and has been through, I've kind of come full circle in terms of like confronting like frankly radical trauma and suffering and coming full circle with it where I just, you know, evolved extraordinarily through the circumstance. And I kind of in a way I kind of find myself now having kind of, I don't know, sort of at least halfway kind of find myself on solid ground and then try, and when I say solid ground, I mean in worldly terms, solid ground in worldly terms. And then even though it was through the process of just completely letting go, and I mean, being confronted with horrific crimes that had been committed against me and my elderly parents with absolutely no resolution, not knowing if I was even going to live, and just having to completely let go and surrender to the reality of it, and without any kind of resolution. And just amazingly, things like at least halfway, not completely, but at least halfway, like I've kind of found some solid ground in my worldly circumstance. And the amazing contradiction is I had to like totally let go of like including my life and any kind of justice. Like there's not gonna be any justice. And just align myself with the circumstance despite it all. And then now I kind of find myself at least halfway on like kind of solid ground in worldly terms. And I find myself, even though I have a quite solid understanding of non-duality, I still find myself now that I'm on some kind of solid ground. I find myself kind of clinging to it a little bit, or maybe at times more than a little bit. So there's this just amazing um or there's just this contradiction in terms of like a contradiction that we all have to kind of triangulate, which is just, there's no end to the nuance in terms of how how much we come to understand how to navigate that in our lives. But like the first contradiction is, people usually come to non-duality almost always with some serious suffering going on in their life, and then they have to kind of realize, wow, that suffering is actually a doorway I need to walk through and just surrender to it and walk through that doorway, with some degree or another of perfect courage, or what I'd like to call perfect courage, where by you're just, you just let go of your worldly concerns to one degree or another. Some of us in a really radical extreme, some of us maybe more common extreme. And then we, you know, and then we kind of become successful, or some of us become successful at that. And then we find ourselves sort of on solid ground again. And then what I find myself doing, and I've noticed in other students too, is that once you've been through that, then you start, then, to at least a certain degree, not like previously before you became to non-duality, but to a certain degree, you start clinging at
Hmm.
that worldly ground.
Yeah.
So, so I'd love to hear any thoughts you have about,
Yes.
like holding your worldly attachments lightly and being able to just kind of let go
Mm.
and surrender to the flow. And then usually paradoxically, when you do that, usually you come into nice worldly circumstances again, but then you have to let go of them again
Mhm.
and
Yes.
surrender. So there's this constant like dance of or this constant triangulation of just holding your attachments lightly. And to me, there's no end to the uh,
Mhm.
anecdotes or advice I could hear from experienced students
Mhm.
on that topic. So if you could talk to that at all, I'd
Mhm.
appreciate it.
Mhm.
So there is that which you can hold on to, and that which you hold on to inevitably will let go, will fail you. That which is meant to appear is meant to disappear. Only that which neither appears nor disappears is, and there is no one to hold on to it, and there is no way of holding on to that which neither appears nor disappears. That which is of quote unquote value is that which neither you can hold on to it nor you can let go of. That which is of relative value is that which you play the game of holding on to it and letting go of it. And whenever you feel you have succeeded at letting go, you have failed at letting go. So in terms of the phenomenal abundance, form is formless. Formless is form. Formlessness does not arise out of form, but form arises out of formlessness. All your dream characters that appear to you in your night dream, they arise out of you, the dreamer. Form arises out of the formless as a metaphor, the metaphor of the dream. The key thing to comprehend is that your true self is a universal self. There is no lack when it comes to your true self. It is complete abundance, freedom, joy, peace, happiness, wisdom, love, and compassion. And what life is true being. True being is life. Mind, world events are a reflection of true being, which sometimes is veiled by the I am somebody. Somebody suffering, somebody successful, somebody who has been around and around. You travel infinite journey, millions of miles, without taking a step. You never leave home. In coming and going, you never leave home. You have always been home. And this journey is simply about the realization that your entire journey was about your understanding that what you are has always been and will always be and never has not been. That what you are is already is. You are that which has never taken any journey. Like in your night dream, you are in bed. You dream all sorts of events and travels and successes and failures and relationships and so on. But you never leave the bed. You wake up, nothing has ever occurred. That is the understanding, using the metaphor of the dream, about the true meaning of your experience, the true understanding, the understanding about your experience is in what you truly are in this moment, and has always been, not images on the screen, not story lines and events and what has happened to Thomas, rather the reality of Thomas itself, the reality of experience itself is what you are. Now, from this understanding, there is a complete relaxation of any attachment, of any holding on to, of valuing anything. Of course, there is gratitude for the abundance that comes to you, certain successes in life, certain life events that are, more favorable to you. There is gratitude. Gratitude, it just comes out of love and understanding that everything that appears to the body mind appears out of grace, out of God's generosity, as a way of speaking religiously, in a way. So, in terms of worldly abundance, it's a flow. The river flows in the field, and by the very fact that it flows, it nourishes the fields. It irrigates the fields. It does not stagnate. It's always giving. The receiving is in the giving. The only way you receive is because of giving. There is no receiving without giving. And all giving is a universal giving, it's not a personal giving, meaning it comes out of love, not out of a personal interest or a personal generosity. Generosity is a divine quality, appreciation, gratitude, and humility. We don't know how things come to us. We may have a narrative, of course, but it's just a narrative. We really don't know. Everything is perfect as it is. The hardships you had in your life, all the empathy you had for people around you who were suffering, the suffering of friends, family. For each one of us, we are served the right meal. Sit down, there is a menu. Many different dishes are served. It's always the right meal for you, the right recipe. Sooner or later, we realize that, it's perfect as it is. Would have never changed anything, not anything, including the horror show, which at the time was like, oh my God, beam me up, Scotty, get me out of here. But even that horror show, at some point realized, wow, it was just somehow it was just perfect. And I may not be able to explain it to myself or to others. I may not be able to explain it, but I know deep down it was just right.
Yeah, I've definitely I've come to that realization for sure, for sure. But what I find is so interesting is that um and this has kind of crystallized a little bit more maybe in this satsang is just, because I think I had a story in my head of like, oh wow, look at what I've how much I've you look at what I've come through, and wow, I really know this stuff really well. And to a certain extent that's true, but that's really very tiny, actually. There's no end to how much any of us can know this stuff. There's no end to the depth of surrender
Mm.
that all of us have to go through. And
Yes.
I
Yes,
think I think I think I had
it's
too much arrogance almost over too much arrogance in my own realization and my and what I've gone through and achieved. You know what I mean? As I want to put
yeah,
it, achieved.
right. Yes.
So this is the ego will walk through a million side doors without even knowing it,
Yeah,
you
right, right. Yes, yes. And
know.
and over time we become more and more sort of wise to those inner games, inner me games mentally. We it takes it takes a few iterations. Eventually we realize, goodness, I mean, like even the breath, I mean, breathing, I mean, am I doing the breathing? It's the universe is breathing through this body mind. I mean, it's like, can we have this carry this conversation if there wasn't the pull of gravity, or the atmosphere around the planet Earth, the stratosphere? It it doesn't take much reflection to realize, this whole me doing and my success and all of that is just some mental story, a game we play, a game we play, and it's okay, but it's the suffering part of it which is not so okay. Like, oh my God, I'm failing, I'm failing. Because if I'm succeeding, then at some point I'm failing. It's just because success and failure are like the two sides of the coin, It's so, but the universe is doing it all. I don't mean like a physical universe, but universal consciousness is doing it all, and this awareness right now, this ordinary awareness right now, is this universal awareness. My awareness is the awareness of the universe. That's somehow just right now dreaming this dream, manifesting this manifestation. It's like God's doing, like the Sufis say, wherever my eyes fall is God's body, God's being. It's all God. It's all this universal doing. And my body is universal body. The body of the universe and my body, it's the same body. It's the body of the universe, my body. Wow, that's really beautiful. It's really beautiful. It's a lot of freedom in that. And there is a relaxation of our tendency to maintain the me structure, whichever way we do, the whole me structure, resisting and arguing and seeking and holding on to and releasing in order to get somewhere.
Yeah.
I will let go if I get the goodies. What would I get in return if I let go? You see the contradiction in that. It's
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. There's just such a never-ending dance. I guess maybe I was expecting some kind of like I guess maybe I was I guess I'm expecting more ease and surrendering and letting go after having done it through such an extraordinarily radically traumatic.
Right, right. You see that we want to let go, but we want to hold on to something. Give me the ease. Give me. I won't let go, but give me. I'm expecting something. So what is this I that is expecting something? It's some form of structure. It's some mental structure, egoic structure, whatever, whichever way you define it. It doesn't matter how you define it. But what is this? It's a structure. And how can there be freedom and structure simultaneously? You follow?
Mhm.
How can there be the maintenance of a structure, mental, psychological, sensory structure, somatic structure, to be expecting something in time and freedom don't go hand in hand, because freedom is complete freedom right now in this moment. There isn't freedom and expectation simultaneously, you see?
Mhm.
So right now in this moment, we just say yes to freedom. And when we say yes to freedom, we're simultaneously saying yes to everything. Everything. How the body is manifesting, how the world is manifesting, how the neighborhood is manifesting, how the world is manifesting. That's freedom. Freedom is like a yes in the moment, a complete yesness. And of course, there is action. We there is hunger, we feed the body. Why? Because we're saying yes to the hunger. We experience hunger. You see, yes, it's always simple.
Mhm.
So expectation is one of the way in which the me still manages to squeeze it squeezes itself into, it still wants to, the foot in the door.
Yeah. Yeah, it just, it's a never-ending coming into realizing how little, we know nothing really. We know nothing of what anything should be.
And we don't need to know. I mean, what do we need to know right now to have this conversation? It's just flow. It's a flow. We don't even know what we're saying. And at the same time, we're understanding what we're saying as we're saying it. We don't even know what we're going to say a second from now. And it's all magical. It's to trust the show. Trust, let's say, religious term, they say trust God. No, trust being. And the understanding that being is what we refer to as I. Or the ordinary I, the ordinary self, is the universal self, not a limited personal me that is not you. Of course, the body, Thomas, and the body, Magdi, are different bodies. Okay. But we're talking about I,
Mhm.
I, being, awareness, consciousness, presence. So the reality is a reality in this moment. And this reality is not apart from my reality. Reality is not like multiple realities, your reality, my reality, etc. No, it's just one reality.
Mhm. Thank you, Magdi.